We're here at the Proving Grounds on August 4th, and we're in a field of 76-day corn that we sold it on July 18th. And so as we're using this to harvest, and of course in 3 days from now we'll be doing tillage in here, and then we'll be running planters in here. But today we're talking about how do we set a combine up in some tough conditions. And I'm excited to have two young farmers from Eastern Illinois. I got Mark Shorts and Aaron Puzzi. And these two young guys I have a lot of respect for. I've worked with them in other adventures. Mark and I have tiled a lot of ground together. And so they have run Case combines for years and years. By no means are we saying that these guys are OEM specialists. But for you and I, there's a lot we can learn about how we pull into a field on the first day and we start to tune in a combine. And yes, this corn has got ears only 18 inches off the ground. Tough to get these heads low enough to capture it. Pretty rubbery cobs, no matter how you look at it. When you salt corn before sweet corn stage, then come in here 18 days later and harvest, it's a tough go to get it off the cob. So there's gonna be some small cobs in the tank. But at the same time, there's a lot on how do you and I come in and we get it to the sweet spot. So I'm just gonna let Mark and Aaron tell us some of the things that they do on corn at the beginning of the season, how they approach it. With this particular Case machine and things that they would look for. So Mark and Aaron, why don't you just give us kind of when you first pull into a field, just kind of walk me through just the steps of what you look at on your settings and how you look at the ground and whether it's in the front of the combine or the rear. Give me some input.
Well, I start with just kind of a standard setting that we all go with. Runner maybe about this far and then do a power shutdown.
Okay.
Kill everything and stop right now. Then you can see right behind the back of them from the tires, look on the sieves, just kind of get an idea what you're leaving it on the cob, stuff like that.
Well, just like today, Aaron, we kept, I was walking behind you, we kept shutting you down a little bit in the concaves because this corn is such a small cob, rubbery, and I know you're pretty tight, probably much tighter than you'll ever be.
13 millimeters, maybe
half an inch, kind of unheard of for you guys that are raising really high yields over where you're at. So Aaron, I'm gonna pick on you a little bit. If I was in the buddy seat riding beside you, watching you run, tell me what are the things that you're watching the most and what are you gonna be changing the most? Because all the technology we have in combines, you can have a lot of adjustments to your fingertips. So what would you be doing if I was riding beside you most of the time?
Well, I watched the loss, and then I watch my bushels per hour. And if it gets up, they usually coincide with, oops, we're running it a little hard. Either back it off, or maybe you can open your sieve one little notch at a time and see what you can get away with.
Yeah.
To get a little more capacity without having to slow down.
Sure, sure.
It just depends on how variable it is.
How about cylinder speed as the season goes on? Can you slow it down a little bit in a Case combine as it gets a little drier?
I like to get it probably down to 350, 340
awesome.
even,
Awesome.
Just so it's just kind of...
And that helps us on our food grade corn as well.
Because you getting paid for the
premiums. Yeah, absolutely. We're getting graded when we haul it in. So the slower we can run it, the wider we can run everything, the better cracks and brokens that we're going to get.
And it's the same way. You guys have made a really good business out of seed beans. And so I'm sure you're no different on the seed beans. You're trying to keep the splits down as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, that's part of our premium on seed beans as well as the quality portion of that premium.
So I ask you the same question, Mark. If I was just riding with you, what is your hand doing once in a while? I know you guys got guidance on your head, so if you're reaching over and you're going to make some adjustment, but sieves?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably sieves and the fan on, like you said, on beans. Depends on the size of beans, time of day. I mean, that can adjust too. But like you said, once you get the fan kind of dialed in, possibly slowing the rotor down as we get later in the day as well. Same type of things. Of course, with cutting beans, you're always adjusting your reel in and out, all that stuff. So there's a lot going on as you're going across the field.
Yeah.
So
I know you guys run grain carts. The particular machine we're standing here with, this 8240. Aaron, I know you're running a 12-row head. Plenty of power and they pull up in wet corn, or you ease back a little bit?
Plenty of power.
Plenty of power. That's the things that each and one of us always like, is plenty of power. So
yeah, I think it has a Steinbauer module, so it's It's running like 650 horsepower.
I think 650 ought to get the job done.
Seems to.
Fantastic. So help me out, guys. Where we run deer combines, we have the ability to adjust the feeder house on the go. Case has the ability to change pitch on head, probably not on the go, but can you do it pre-season?
Yeah, but it's a kind of a job. I mean, it's not something you just want to do.
Where do you guys, if you could pick a spot, do you like a little bit flatter, or do you keep it at a pretty good angle?
I like it. It's tilted all the way back, makes the corn head about as flat as you can make it.
So you can get nice and low to the ground.
Nice. Yeah, I like to run my snouts touching the ground.
And then with our draper heads, then we have the ability to pitch that. And
Sure.
so we try to set the combine, back where he's getting good on his chopping head, getting a good level chop. And then we have that ability then on the bean heads. It depends on our terrain and ground conditions to pitch that a little bit.
So Mark, same for, I know you guys run 2 combines in your operation. What are some of the things that you think about when we're talking about getting in the field and getting it to the fine sweet spot?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've worked a lot with is the concave modules. And so as Aaron was talking about, kind of checking all your settings, making sure we're happy with our grain sample. And we raise white corn for Frito-Lay, so food grade is an issue. We also raise seed beans, and so, grain samples. But once we kind of get the settings where we're happy with, as far as loss, getting our head set, get all that done, then, we look at what crops are we harvesting. Is it high moisture corn? And that's what we were struggling with these red combines, was in high moisture corn, especially green, early in the season. We've got our own drying facility, so we try to start pretty early. So we actually went to an aftermarket concave module. We're running the Estes.
Why don't we just take a look at them, Mark,
Yeah.
and you can kind of show us what they are.
So when running the red machines, we just thought we would take it, a step farther and trying to get kind of match the conditions that we're in. So, here we've got 3 different modules. We've got kind of your standard wire module. We run that in beans a lot. And then we went to the Case offers the round bar, and we had good luck. We actually are running this sometimes in green stem beans with different conditions. We're actually running these round bars as well. But last year we went to the Estes module, and it's just got a little more opening and a little more aggressive on there, trying to prevent hairpinning and getting the, that green matter kind of in a high yield environment with wet corn, getting that through, the separation.
Looks like it's got a pretty sharp angle on it, so I can see where that'd be pretty aggressive. When you put that in, gentlemen, did you have to immediately open up your concaves more, or did it seem to be pretty similar to what
Yeah.
your settings were?
It didn't change hardly at all.
Good.
Pretty similar to
Good.
the round
To the
bar.
round bar, yeah.
So once you get the basis of your concaves in, walk me through what do you think some of your greatest challenges? So you guys had some really high yielding corn last year. So talk me through your own experience on your own farm. What's the greatest challenge that you find besides taking grain away? I realize a machine this size is going to cut some serious corn per hour, but what are you finding to be the greatest challenge in the red machine and really high yielding corn? Let's just pick 27%. So
I guess throwing it out the back.
keeping it in the machine.
Loss, yeah.
And I think for those of us run the deer, we'd say the same thing.
Yeah.
How do we keep?
It's just so much touchier, you just can't push it.
We got plenty of horsepower, but
Yeah.
it always comes down to cleaning capacity. We think about the machines of tomorrow, and of course we all realize the width of a machine is all dictated by road width. And so I'm sure they can get somewhat longer over time, and we probably see that. I think deer's talking, you can see in our 670s that they keep getting the sieves and the walker, and the sieves down the bottom, cleaning shoe bigger and longer. But so keeping it in the machine. Other than that, what are some little tricks that you guys think about? I've run enough case machines. I know you got a cab that's unmatched. At least you can hear your cell phone. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, we've had really good luck with the case machines. I would say once we kind of match, every day is a little different. I mean, with heavy dew in the morning versus afternoon, that could dictate ground speed. That could dictate, tweaking the settings a little bit. So, I would definitely say it's not that we get this thing set and it's the same all day long. I mean, Aaron,
I'm never,
he's on it all the time, you know, looking at his sample, looking at, you know, the ground conditions, or grain on the, if there's grain loss. Same way when we get into beans as well, you know, different moisture and green beans, you know, where we are, and trying to get the best sample that we can with our machines.
I know you guys went ahead. I know you got quite a few fields and some distance to go at times, so you got a 12-row folding head, and that's worked well on the transport side for you?
Yeah.
Something you really enjoy, Aaron?
Oh, I do. Yep.
Yeah.
Pull in and unfold, and you're going again.
I know from a 360 side, we were excited last year to get the Yield Saver chains on your gearing off, and I know that you guys had a chance to get a season underneath under your operation. Anything at all you'd like to just put in and add on what some of the things that you saw there?
We thought there was a good success on you know, just adding the cushioning to the ears, a lot of your little nubbins that normally would be lost. Overall, I think we were, you know, really happy. I'd say earlier in the year, bringing a little more residue in, and then but we just kind of had to match our settings to that.
Right.
And it wasn't a, you know, go with this. We kind of had to get used to them. As the moisture of the corn came down, really saw benefit to trying to get every kernel in the machine, like you talked about.
Fantastic. Well, one question I guess I'd have, when you put on the 360 Yield Saver, any different settings that you found to be, as far as just the setup of the head, anything different really, guys?
No, there really wasn't.
You know roughly about what speed you're running your rotodisc gearing off? Or are you in that 600 plus?
I think 600, right around 600.
Yeah.
It gets blinky about 580,
Yeah.
or, you know, minimum.
Yeah. Pretty similar to what type of heads that we're running, so good deal. Far as on the bean side, anything, thoughts at all? You guys are in the Draper heads? Good.
Yeah, we run MacDon Drapers.
Good. And then you talked about the green stem beans. What are some of the other challenges you see? You know, all of us will have, when the sun goes down at night, all of us see a different setting that comes up in the combine. So
Sure.
Any thoughts at all? I know you each run one of your own machines, but
Yeah, I would say by going to the Draper heads has given us a longer window, start a little earlier and go a little later. I know you said when you were running setups that, you know, you were seeing the same thing.
yeah. So I got to ask, because everyone will be watching this in the end of August, are going to want to know, so corn in your area, I know you had a tremendous growing season. Whenever I'd call Mark, it seemed like he had 2 inches and we had a 10th. So
well, that's at Aaron's house, actually. Aaron's getting the rain. I'm a couple miles south, so I'm not quite getting as much.
So Aaron, what do you think of your crop right now?
I think
Let's talk about, obviously last year's probably best all time, maybe 2014
14
maybe.
was the best, but last year was pretty,
16
really close.
wasn't bad. And what would you say 17's like for you?
I think it'll be the best ever.
Best ever.
Yeah.
So all of those guys that'll be watching here soon that are in the drought areas,
Sorry.
a little bit like myself, it kind of pained me when he said that. He's really putting the knife in.
I'm gonna scale it back a little bit. I'm gonna say it's somewhere in that 2014 range. You know, we've changed our system, Y drop and split up line nitrogen, putting our fungicide on ourselves with our Hagee through undercover. You know, it's pretty amazing. You get a little farther west in Illinois, you know, we've got good friends that are they're drouthy, they're really, and then you got good friends around Indianapolis, and it's opposite. I mean, they're flooding. They can't hardly get side dressing done, and so it's just we're kind of, luckily we're in a sweet spot right there, and so I feel really blessed for that.
Well, I don't know if it could happen to two nicer guys than you. I'm excited for you, and I hope you have to wait on trucks, Aaron.
I believe I will be.
So that's good. You need to have some pain.
Be waiting on the dryer and the trucks.
Waiting on the dryer and the trucks.
Right.
Well, if you get us sold just at the all-time high, that'll be fantastic. So I appreciate you guys talking it through. You know, whether it's a dry year or wet year, you know, the fact remains at this stage of the game, we're poised to get everything we can in. You know, and in 360, when we talk about our harvest projects, it's about what can we do at this stage. We've worked hard all year growing a great crop. So what can we do to save more or to fine tune, whether it's residue management or in kernel loss in the head. So I appreciate you guys very much bringing your machine here today. And so let's get in this machine and get this corn off so we can do tillage here in a day or two.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
gentlemen.
Great. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Aaron.
Great, thank you.